but I know that there's a word you specifically hate, and you talked about it. I wanted to ask you about it. Is the word junkie?
Aye.
And I know, because in the stand-up world, you will hear it used.
Yes. In the hip-hop world, I heard it used. I used to walk out. It used to trigger me.
Right.
No.
Did you not go on Twitter and write about it, no?
No. Twitter's a cesspool of toxicity.
Fuck yeah, but like, I'm genuinely curious about this, because that's something...
No, well, that's it. It's like me getting offended by what somebody says. Somebody's only maybe talking about their experience or what they've had with addicts. And I mean, like, being one of the addicts for years, I can see why people think that way, you know, sometimes, because they don't understand maybe the underlying issues of people, or how people have ended up where they are, and
like someone, like, for
the
instance,
stuff that's in papers, the stuff that's reported on. I mean, you just need to walk through the town, do you know what I mean? And it's like how people, no force, because you're not forced to be an addict, do you know what I mean? But how people end up using, you can see why people have the perception and the thoughts that they have.
yeah.
Sometimes it depends who it is staying it, I think, for me now. Because I can hear some comedians that I know use it, and then it doesn't bother, because I know them as people.
Yeah.
And that they're empathetic people, and they're brand new people. But if it's like somebody new, I'm kind of like, depending on the joke and stuff like that. But for me, you can't be offended by what people say. I
mean, you can be offended is what you do with the offence.
Yes, yeah.
But like someone like, obviously, Alan, he's grown up around it. His parents, like, he would naturally would have resentment towards his parents of, like, you chose this drug over your child, which is an understandable thing.
Yep, we spoke about that when
check out his episode on Making Recovery visible on Sunny Govern Radio.
Because some of the stuff he said kind of triggered me, and like I says that to him, it's like, but it gave me the ability to go home and talk to my son about some of this stuff, because it was like, right, because we're all human, right? So underlying, we've all got the same feelings and general makeup. So hearing, and I said that to him too, it's like when he first started doing comedy, when I first seen him in Salsa, he seemed a lot more angry comedy than what he does now. Yeah,
which is a lot more understanding, and there's a bit more empathy.
It was as if he's been working through stuff as he's been doing his comedy.
Yeah, you're right. I remember, because like,
I mean?
Yes, because he had, I don't want to spoil any jokes, but like, he makes a joke about his mum being clean.
Yes, and that was the one at Freed Up. I was like, I don't know how this is going to go, because I'd heard it obviously at a night, and then he done it at Freed Up, and I was like, but then people like did laugh after, they cheered and were shocked.
I want to be very careful not to spoil someone else's joke, because it's a great joke, and it's worked in many ways, but
But so that stuff did, like, no, triggered me, because I hate that as well, do you know what I mean? But it brought stuff.
You can use it, there's no shame in saying I felt a certain way, you know.
I felt a certain way, and that gave me the ability, because my son's dead shut down because he's went through all that stuff, so he doesn't talk about feelings much and stuff like that, and we don't really talk about much. But through Alan's comedy and me feeling that, I've managed to go home and open the conversation round about stuff, and me and him's managed to get closer and work through some of that stuff just through hearing Alan's stuff, do you know what I mean? So it's like, when something makes you feel something, there's something there to work on. That's how I look at it now. If I'm feeling a certain way, if something makes me feel uncomfortable, or then it's usually something I need to go away and do a bit of work on about.
And then, you know, to be fair to you as well, there are cases when people will use humour to mock, to deride, and then they'll try to brush it off. I was only joking. But it's the way they tell the joke where you can tell that there's a bit more weight to it, there's a bit more... It's not just, I'm going to make a funny joke about this, even if it's dark. Sometimes it's like, fuck them. Get it? We know what we're talking about. Like, we've all had that experience.
Yeah, and I mean, even like Susie, like somebody at one of Susie's gigs shouted something out about junkies, and Susie pure shut them down in the gig, and that was like a heckle for the crowd. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
actually, I was there when she said, you know, don't use that word, I can't use that word, and people cheered.
Yeah.
And I was genuinely curious because, I mean, I haven't been involved in that world, but it, you know, free speech and all. I was genuinely curious of like what are the different sort of perspectives on that word specifically.
I mean, like, we use it within recovery with each other. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I suppose it's like the N word. It's all right for us to use it, but it's not right for you to use it.
No, I'm genuinely curious. Like, it's because like sometimes the same word can mean different things to different people, and someone is triggering for someone it is not. And the experience you've had, if you've been mocked and derided with that word over and over again, but someone had a completely different experience with that word, who's right? Like, who gets the moral sort of high ground of like, no, I tell you, you can say don't use it around me because that's how I feel about it.
But I just think in general people need to, it used to be sticks and stones don't break your bones and names, you know what I mean?
Words will never hurt me. I mean, that's bullshit. Words will hurt you, but there's things you can do about it.
Aye, but it's like, take the power back, man. Why care what somebody else calls you or thinks about you? It shouldn't matter to you.
I mean, I don't know for everyone, but I can tell you for me, because I was very sensitive to how people perceived me and how people talked about me. And if someone even remotely criticized me, I would feel horrible. I would feel empty on the inside. And I had to teach myself to be like, no, like, I don't have to depend on other people's opinion of me to validate myself. Like, why am I validating myself only when other people agree with me? And it's...
But that's a process in itself, it
calls back to like the addictive thing of like going, fuck, I need to fully, like, the way I had to explain it to myself is like, if you don't want to be affected by people's negative talk, you have to detach from their positive talk. You like, if someone compliments me now, I go, thank you. And I explain it to myself as they, for whatever their reasons are, decided to give me a compliment. That is not the objective fucking reality that I go, therefore I am the shit. I just take it as somebody decided to do a nice thing. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. But I don't try to make it my identity.
No.
And it's been weird to be like, I have to fully give it up. And if I don't want it to have power over me in a negative way, I have to renounce the positives of it as well. And just going, I will never look at a compliment the same way again, was like, oh fuck. You know, again, I've like completely given it up, was just like, oh shit, I mean, I can give it up for a month, you know, for the rest of my life. I've got only me.
That's it, mate.
Yeah, but you do. You really do.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about it is, if you had that information growing up, you wouldn't be so weird, but because you didn't have it, now you're like, what the fuck? You're like weirded out about it. So yeah.